Tonight, reports emerge of another Port Lincoln nurse violently attacked at the city's hospital, and a new COVID exposure site identified in Broken Hill following recent cases.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with Ruby Kamain begins now.
Good evening. The Australian Nursing and Midwifery Federation is calling for round-the-clock security at the Port Lincoln Hospital following the latest reported attack on a staff member. The union says it comes as code black incidents have tripled in the past 2 years. Our reporter Dylan Smith has the details.
The Nurses Union says the latest attack here at Port Lincoln Hospital occurred on October 13, when the patient reportedly leapt from his bed attempting to bite the nurse. It comes after a nurse was brutally bashed 2 years ago by a teenager, suffering severe bruising and facial scarring. The ANMF saying the mental scarring lasts a lifetime.
After the scars and bruising diminishes, the long-term effects are extreme. Post-traumatic stress is a significant issue.
Also saying the hospital has seen an alarming 91 code black incidents since 2016, a staggering 25 of these occurring over the last 3 months.
Enough is enough. What are they waiting for? Are they waiting for someone to die? It's just unbelievable to think that people are being assaulted, that this situation hasn't been fixed.
Just 2 days after the latest attack, 6 Port Lincoln police officers had to restrain a man who allegedly punched a doctor in the emergency department. The union once again calling for a security presence at the hospital.
We now have a series of violent and aggressive events, and it's just completely unacceptable. We believe that there should be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week security presence at the Port Lincoln Hospital.
SAPOL says it can't provide a comment at this time, while SA Health was also contacted for comment. The union says the introduction of security guards at the Whyalla and Port Augusta hospitals has seen a de-escalation in violence.
With more than 100 regional healthcare workers unable to work due to the COVID-19 vaccine mandate, there are concerns there will be added pressure on the health system. But the Health Minister says he's confident that won't be the case.
Health workers out of a job following the state's vaccine mandate coming into effect on Monday.
There are some people who are at this stage are not able to come to work until they get vaccinated, but my understanding is that the contingency planning that's been done by our hospitals is ensuring continuity of services.
SA Health data revealing 128 healthcare workers in regional SA have reportedly refused the COVID-19 vaccine. Of those, 15 work across the York and Northern Local Health Network. Another 15 have refused the vaccine across the Eyre and Far North LHN, and 6 healthcare employees in the Flinders and Upper North LHN have also refused the jab. The state's doctors' union says the number of staff unable to work is concerning.
We've had 2 years to do this planning. We know that there's excessive shortages in rural areas of South Australia, and any loss of staff in rural areas will pose a detriment to provision of care.
In a statement, SA Health says all staff, both clinical and administration, have been provided with adequate notice and support to meet the November 1 deadline. Also saying it will work with staff members yet to get their COVID-19 vaccinations, including those on annual long service and maternity leave, while measures are in place to ensure safe and appropriate staffing levels are maintained. The Health Minister insisting the state's hospitals have staffing concerns under control.
The advice I'm getting is that to the extent that staff are not being able to present, health networks are coping with that.
Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Meanwhile, for those travelling up to the APY lands, no jab means no entry. The APY Executive Board moving to enact a permit entry system for all people entering the lands. To gain a permit, travellers must have had their COVID-19 vaccinations and produce the required evidence. The move to ensure the well-being of the community, said to be incredibly susceptible to illness, with current overcrowded living conditions potentially quickly spreading the virus. And a popular Broken Hill pub has been listed as a new exposure site, spurring long lines at testing clinics. For the first time in weeks, the queue was so long it snaked out of the gates at Mural Oval. The latest exposure site information is on your screens now. A full list of venues of concern can be found on the New South Wales Government website. 2 new cases were recorded in Broken Hill to 8 p.m, both are household contacts. A man has had his licence suspended after he was caught allegedly drink driving in Port Lincoln on Monday. At around midday, police stopped a Mitsubishi ute on Porter Street and conducted a mobile breath test. The 67-year-old Port Lincoln man allegedly returned a blood alcohol reading of 0.115. He was issued with a 6-month loss of licence and is summoned to appear in court at a later date. Still to come tonight, GFG Alliance's chairman chats with Whyala's mayor in a podcast. And Rural Aid Australia appoints a new representative in Port Augusta. Welcome back. The Executive Chairman of GFG Alliance has thanked the Whyalla community for their patience as the steelworks moves forward following the refinancing deal. In a podcast conversation with the city's mayor, Sanjeev Gupta says he's keen to revisit the Steel City soon.
A rare insight into one of the world's leading mining magnates. GFG Alliance's Sanjeev Gupta speaking with Whyalla Mayor Claire McLaughlin in a podcast following the restructuring deal involving the steelworks.
It's a town which has never given up, it never will, and I think that will see that persistence is what I appreciate the most because it sort of marries with my own values very much.
Earlier this year, the parent company of the Whyalla Steelworks was forced to source alternative funding due to the collapse of Greensill Capital. Mr. Gupta crediting his team who he says worked hard and consistently to make the deal happen.
And I'm so happy that Whyalla happens to be the first business where we've achieved a major refinancing. So it's an extra special feeling given that I have such a special place for Whyalla in my heart.
The head of GFG Alliance talking to the mayor on other topics, including the perseverance of the steelworks employees and his desire to visit the city again. The company committing to hydrogen and green steel production, calling the region one of the best places in the world to set up a hub.
It's a town which has never given up, it never will, and I think that will see that persistence is what I appreciate the most because it sort of marries with my own values very much.
Mark Zita, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Broken Hill's federal representative has visited the city for the first time since July. With COVID restrictions now lifted, Mark Coulton clearing a backlog of face-to-face meetings covering multi-million-dollar projects, health and border restrictions.
Almost $9 million for Broken Hill's Library and Cultural Precinct announced over Zoom. Today a chance to see the car park it will replace.
It's the first time to Broken Hill since July. My main office is in Dubbo. I've been there once since July. And so if I hear the term working from home much more, I'm going to be quite sick.
The $20 million cost for Stage 1 now almost fully covered with minimal ratepayer money.
At last our archives will have a home and they'll be cared for, and for our library it'll be diverse with gardens, with children's areas, with young adults filmmaking areas.
Meeting too with a steering group pushing for local drug rehabilitation facilities.
There's a real focus now on putting together that proposal so that we've actually got, rather than an aspiration, we've actually got a proposal.
The pandemic exposing Broken Hill's reliance on other states, particularly for healthcare. Mr Coulton saying he's been in constant discussions with South Australia and Queensland over their borders with not a lot of success.
After we've passed this pandemic, there's a need to sit down at some sort of a constitutional meeting across the states to overcome this because, quite frankly, it's nonsense.
Lachlan Itter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Rural Aid Australia has made one of its biggest investments into improving regional mental health to date, appointing 10 new counsellors across the country this year, including one in Port Augusta.
Addressing the yawning gaps in regional mental health. Rural Aid Australia expanding its services to help farmers in South Australia for the first time.
Rural Aid's made a $3.75 million commitment over the next 3 years to put these 9 additional counsellors into regional communities right across Australia.
With the success of its counselling program in the eastern states, a new representative has been placed in Port Augusta.
Furthered that out to right across Australia with the extra new counsellors, so 2 of us here in South Australia. And we will be doing free counselling for those farmers, farming families, farm workers.
Jeffrey Grace Jones, one of the state's 2 new councillors, will service a 300-kilometre radius of the city.
Our councillors offer a unique service because they drive up driveways to see our farmers where they feel most comfortable. That's not in town, that's not in an office, inevitably that's at home.
Also saying the at-home service encourages more farmers to seek out help, as it provides a level of privacy.
It allows the farmers to stay on their property, do their jobs instead of having to travel an hour or two each way.
After helping Kangaroo Island farmers in their bushfire recovery, Jeffrey knows firsthand the pain farmers can go through, saying it's important to treat mental well-being the same as any other medical condition.
Identify what issues might be there, what strengths they can use, and just open the doorways up to maybe prevent and stop more serious issues coming down the track.
Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. Artefacts uncovered in renovations at the historic Silverton Jail. And Port Lincoln honours 3 decades of friendship with a Japanese city. Hello again. The Silverton Jail Museum has reopened after the COVID lockdown with a few extra exhibits. While completing renovations, the Broken Hill Historical Society discovered the 132-year-old building still had secrets waiting to be uncovered.
If these walls could talk, but that's what's happening at Silverton Jail, artefacts found inside the building's foundations.
The floor was actually bowed. We cleared it out and we got a new floor in there. And so in the process of doing that, these 3 items appeared.
Signage from past mining operations dating back as far as 1910 used to prop up the floor in the museum's kitchen, outlining fire procedures, explosives warnings and rules for underground access.
They're a significant part of history and they should be where other people can see them, and they're quite different in some of the language that they use.
Also found under the floors a glass bottle and silver spoon. It'll be sent off to Adelaide for examination in the hopes its story will also be revealed.
They do have a code which gives you dates and all that sort of stuff, and they'll let you know how old they are.
The discoveries all made by volunteers completing renovations during the COVID closure, a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic, helping them uncover secrets from a lifetime ago.
We've just looked after it and we've added to it, and we do that all the time. So it's great to turn around and say, oh, look what we found.
Lachlan Ittis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The Port Lincoln Muroto Friendship Group officially unveiled its mosaic on Tasman Terrace this morning. The artwork commemorating the 30-year friendship between the city of Port Lincoln and the city of Muroto in Japan.
Cutting the ribbon and pointing to their counterparts in Japan, the Port Lincoln Muroto Friendship Group recognising the occasion with this mosaic in front of the Nautilus Arts Centre.
We decided to symbolise that with mosaics, and we've in fact gifted an identical mosaic to Muroto, and that's been installed in Muroto in front of one of their civic buildings as well.
Members of the group dressing in traditional Japanese robes for the opening. The ceremony originally planned to be held in person, with delegates from Japan and Port Lincoln travelling to both cities.
COVID made us rethink that, and so in March we had a ceremony in our council chamber, and they had one in their council building, and we zoomed the meeting.
Mayor Brad Flaherty saying it's a symbol of the city's commitment to the long-term friendship.
Not only celebrating where we've been in the last 30 years, but projecting out and saying we still want to keep going with this future relationship that we have with Muroto.
The wattle and cherry blossom indicative of the intertwining partnership.
And we symbolically laid the blossoms one by one, with individual people laying one blossom each.
Dylan Smith, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A Wylam music teacher has been nominated as a finalist as the state's best music educator for 2021. Alison Hams from Stormfront Productions, recognised for her passion in bringing music to the lives of the city's young people.
Recognised for her role in fostering a love of the arts in students across the Steel City. This Wylam music teacher nominated as a finalist for Best Music Teacher at the South Australia Music Awards.
It's really nice for me, I think, to represent the regions. It's something that is primarily a metropolitan acknowledgement, and I'm really excited, to be honest.
A former recording artist herself, Alison Hams is passionate about bringing quality music education to Whyalla, saying her experiences has allowed her to channel her passion to her students.
I think that time spent on the road and learning the hard yards really gave me inspiration myself to want to inspire the next generation.
Also running Stormfront Productions with her husband would provide a variety of music and art services to musicians across the region. Miss Hams believes students living in regional areas deserve a music education comparable to the metropolitan areas.
Sometimes we don't have the facilities or the resources at hand that they do in Adelaide and beyond. Being able to give young people in the regions that opportunity and that access, I think that's a really important resource for them.
The awards will be presented in 2 weeks' time at the Old Adelaide Jail. Mark Zita, 7 Spencer Golf News.
The 2021 SA Masters Games has been shortlisted as a finalist in the State Sport Awards for Event of the Year. The Copper Coast Mayor says it's an exciting time for the community, who hosted the event earlier this year.
The Copper Coast again receiving some well-deserved recognition, this time for an event.
We think that the Masters Games that were held last April were a real success here on the Copper Coast.
The South Australian 2021 Masters Games, shortlisted as one of 4 finalists in the State Sport Awards for the Event of the Year. The event held earlier this year, hosting more than 1,600 participants, competing across 29 different sports. The SA Masters Games chair says the recognition is a credit to the community.
I think our success is due to the fact that we had so much involvement from our community and we embraced welcoming all of the athletes.
The Copper Coast Mayor hoping the region will be able to host the event again in the future.
Really hoping that one day we can build on that, we can hold them here again and they'll even be bigger and better.
With hopes the Masters Games will take home the title of Event of the Year, set to be announced on November 14.
We are up against some pretty stiff competition, but no, we would be just ecstatic if we were to win.
Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. We'll hear the cheapest and most expensive spots to fill up your car. And Alex Sykes will join us with weather. See you again soon. Welcome back. For all the horror stories around fuel prices at the moment, drivers in some parts of the Spencer Gulf have been given a reprieve this week. Numbers especially positive for diesel drivers. Lachlan Nitter has the details in Fuel Watch.
Overall, prices are still trending up, but there are a few corners of our region where things have turned around. Don't get too excited though, because none of those price drops are any more than a cent. Starting with unleaded, and the winner of the petrol pump prize is Port Lincoln, the only green arrow for our region this week. As I said, it's only half a cent, but it brings prices to the lower end of $1.64 a litre, a relatively good price in our neck of the woods. Unleaded also selling for that in Port Pirie, slightly more in Kadina. They've both gone up by around 2 cents a litre. Whyalla's middle of the road at $1.64 and gets away with the lowest price increase. Drivers in Port Augusta are getting the wrong end of the stick this week, going up to $1.67, so up by around 3 cents. Broken Hill showing no sign of slowing down, averaging $1.73, but we've got outlets closing in on $1.80, already selling for $1.78 a litre. Adelaide's a bit of a mixed bag, but averaging $1.58, so worth considering if you're heading down there this weekend. Over to diesel, where on the whole things are actually looking good, with prices going down across half our region. Port Pirie down to $1.60 a litre, Port Lincoln dropping but still around $1.62, and Broken Hill has actually seen a drop as well, still around $1.69 though. Port Augusta has once again seen the largest increase, up about 1.5 cents to $1.65 a litre, Whyalla just under $1.66. There's only a slight jump in Kadina, where you'll pay $1.61. Finally to Autogas, and Port Pirie has seen the only change here, a 3 cent jump to $1.13 a litre. Port Augusta and Kadina are still worse off. You're much better filling up in Port Lincoln or Whyalla if you can. Now remember that these prices are the regional averages and do not reflect any one particular outlet. And if you do spot unleaded, diesel or autogas cheaper, be sure to let us know on our Facebook page.
Time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather. Here's Alex Sykes.
Thanks, Ruby, and good evening, everyone. Well, we had the rain jacket handy today with showers across most of the region, but look, there is some relief on the way over the next couple of days. From 3 p.m. today, Broken Hill was 31 degrees, Cleve was 21, and Cooper Pedy was cloudy and 27 degrees. Looking further out across the region now, Port Augusta and Woodner were both 24, Whyalla and Adelaide were both 20, Kadina was 21, Clare was 20, Coffin Bay was 19 degrees. Taking a look at the satellite image now, cloud over South Australia with a deep trough, bringing patchy rain throughout and thunderstorms over the south and east. Clear skies with a high pressure building over the western area. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. Variable winds 10 knots becoming south to southwesterly during the morning to 15 to 20 knots. Seas around 1 metre and south to southwesterly swell below 1 metre, increasing to around 1 metre south of Cal. And there are no warnings in place for the region. And as I mentioned earlier, conditions are clearing up tomorrow. Cloud clearing in Port Lincoln, 20 degrees. Cleve mostly sunny, set to reach 21. Woodner, 28 degrees. Whyalla sunny and 24. Port Augusta also sunny with a high of 27 and Kadina 25 degrees. Port Pirie and Broken Hill to reach 27 and Clare will be sunny and 25 degrees. Taking a look further through the week now, sunny conditions in Port Pirie, Kadina and Broken Hill on Friday. Port Augusta, Cooper Pedy and Woodner mostly sunny and 34. Port Lincoln 24. Possible storms and showers across most parts of the region on Saturday. Showers easing in Port Lincoln 23, a shower or two developing in Broken Hill with 31. Those showers continue in Port Lincoln, Cooper Pedy and Broken Hill on Sunday. And that's all the weather from me for tonight. It's back to you, Ruby.
Wonderful. Thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Wednesday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates later. Until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.